There is a word, and today word comes to us from the Old Testament prophecy of Isaiah chapter 66. And I want to look at verses 12 and 13. Isaiah chapter 66. Verses 12 and 13. Again, I'll be reading from the New International Version, so if yours sounds a bit different from mine, that'll be the reason. Isaiah chapter 66, verses 12 and 13. For this is what the Lord says: I will extend peace to her like a river, the wealth nations like a flooding stream. You will nurse and be carried on her arm and dangled on her knees. As a mother comforts her child, so will I comfort you, and you will be comforted over Jerusalem. Read verse 13 one more time. As a mother comforts her child, so will I comfort you, and you will be comforted over Jerusalem. God bless His word. From the context of those verses that I've read there, I want to talk to you this morning, just a few minutes from this topic. I want to talk about the motherhood of God. The motherhood of God. No matter who you are, where you've been, or what you've done, God loves you. As I said, I want to talk about today, I want to talk about the motherhood of God. I really want to talk about God's motherhood, God's she-ness. Somebody missed that, because you got very quiet. God's she-ness. Now y'all know when I say whatever I say, I can back it up. So ain't no need to question what I'm talking about. I can back up what I'm talking about. We sing about God's motherhood. We testify to the fact of God's motherhood. Yet, we seem to have a real problem embracing the feminine side of God. I suggest to you that says more about us than it says about God's true nature. Many of you already know that I have no qualms about referring to God in the feminine gender. As a result, I'm very comfortable referring to God as mother, and then using the pronouns her and she in referring to God. Yet, today's sermon is not about arguing semantics. I want to take a look into the very character of God. Who is God? Who is God to me and for me? Someone has said there are these two things that all Americans hold sacred, regardless of race, creed, or religion. And those two are apple pie and motherhood. Well, we don't have a special day. We don't have a special day to honor apple pies. But we do have a day which pays special tribute to mothers. This day's celebrations are not attempts to deify mothers. This day is about giving special recognition to the institution of motherhood and to pay special tribute to mothers. Now, we can admit that not all mothers are virtuous. Yet the role of motherhood is special. I think that God had something special in mind when he set up the institution of motherhood. How many of you know that God placed a special kind of love in mothers? I realize that there are some people who don't live up to the divine imperative of motherhood. I realize that there are mothers who engage in everything but being a good mother. However, I just believe that the vast majority of mothers love their children deeply and strive to do the best they can in a pressure-filled culture such as ours. Yes, they're perfect. You find something wrong with them. You find some faults that they're engaged in. But how many of you know that love can make up for a multitude of faults? I think that there are at least three things that are positive in relation to Mother's Day in the church. One is attendance is usually better. Two, it gives us an opportunity to look into God's Word for characteristics that go into making a godly mother. And three, it gives us an opportunity to extol the mother-like qualities of God. Now, normally when we think about God, we think of God as our Father. And you know that I have no problems with that notion either. Guys, I'm going to take care of you on Father's Day. I'm going to take care of you on Father's Day. But there's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with thinking of God as possessing mother-like qualities also. After all, God is spirit. God, let me let y'all in on something. God will not be limited by human definitions and descriptions. Ain't no need you trying to define God, describe God, because he's beyond our definition. He's beyond, she's beyond our definition. She's beyond our description. We're familiar with many of the metaphors, the names, the titles used in the Bible to reveal the many-sided nature of God. For example, he is our king and we are his subjects. He is our shepherd and we are his sheep. He is our counselor and we are his clients. He is our redeemer and we are his possession. He is our priest and we are his people. He is our father and we are his children. As father, he provides for our needs. He trains, corrects, and educates us in love as members of a great family. However, Isaiah 66 and 13, Isaiah 66 and 13, we have the suggestion of something just as deep. How many of you know that a mother is a ministering angel in times of pain and sorrow? Now, I recognize that this is a prejudiced statement, but she just seems to have the art of comfort better than a man. Is there a witness to that? Is there a witness to that? Well, God combines in herself all the virtues of a perfect character. God is not only strong and protective, but she's also tender and comforting. In 2 Corinthians chapter 1, verses 3 and 4, Paul picks up on the theme of the comforting God talked about in Isaiah 66 when he refers to God as the God of all comfort. Let's take a look at just how God does comfort us. First of all, number one, God comforts by her presence. Did you get that? God comforts by her presence. Take a minute and think about this. What is a house without a mother? Her presence in the house suggests that comfort, love, and service are there. Well, think about a house without without the presence and influence of Mother God. Think about it. Mother God in the house can soothe and sympathize. She lifts her troubled child up into her everlasting arms and holds the child close. And that closeness brings comfort. Second thing. God comforts us by her word. The child's first lesson, the child's first teacher rather, is his or her mother. She gives the child his or her earliest lessons about life and responsibility. When the child is discouraged, the mother's words comfort and inspire. When the child is disobedient, mother's rebuke brings correction. How many of y'all ever got well, let that alone, huh? When fear fills the child's heart, she holds him or her close and reassures the child. Our Mother God is like that. Humanity can be viewed as an infant crying in the night. Its only language being nothing more than a cry. And as they cry, Mother God comforts as a mother by her gracious and soothing words. Number 3, God comforts us by her silence. Now, watch this one. Now, watch this one. When her child is in trouble, a mother very often receives that child without asking a lot of questions. Is that right? Her intuition tells her that something is wrong, but she doesn't speak right then. Comfort is her first reaction. Somehow or another, she senses that her child right then needs her ministry of silence. Oh, how our Mother God is like that. We get into trouble. We mess up. And Mother God knows that something is wrong, but she doesn't hasten to condemn us. Often she simply says, come unto me and lay your head on my breast. You don't have to say anything, and I won't say anything either. Just lay your head. Anybody ever like to lay your head on mama's breast? Story is told of a wounded soldier who returned home from Vietnam. This soldier was in critical condition. He was blind, his mind was clouded, his body was mangled. His mother traveled more than 2,000 miles just to be by his hospital bedside. As soon as she entered the room, she laid her hands on his brow without saying a word. Instantly, the soldier said, "Mother, is that you?" "It must be you." She hadn't spoken a word, but he knew the tender touch of his mother's hand. That's the way it is with God. We can't see her, but we can feel her touch upon our lives. We speak to her, and we don't receive an audible answer yet. How many of you know that a calm and a consolation comes over you when you realize that she touched you? She touched me. Oh, she touched me. And all the joy that floods my soul. Something happened. And now I know she touched me and made me whole. Can I get a witness today? Fourth thing. God comforts us by her generosity. Mother dries our tears. When your heart is heavy, Mama says, "Come on into the kitchen. Let me fix you something to eat. We can talk for a while." She's generous not only with her goods, but she's generous with her time. She's generous with her understanding and with her love. That's how Mother God is. She's generous with her grace. She goes out of her way to fix us up with an extra helping of grace and understanding. Then the last thing, God comforts us through her other children. Do you remember the time that your mother took you to the doctor? Do you remember the time she sent your older brother or sister to help you with your homework? Do you remember the time she saw to it that you were in church and Sunday school so that you could hear about God's love? Can't you see God, our mother, in that? She often sends someone to us just when we need the most. You go to the mailbox and a card comes from somebody just when you need it. You get a phone call that warms your heart when you were down in the dumps. You get a personal visit when you thought nobody was thinking about you. Somebody prayed a prayer in the church service, in the ministry meeting. It seemed to be designed just for you. Yes, God is my mother. She does not just have mother-like qualities. She is mother. She comforts us by her presence. She comforts us by her word. She comforts us by her silence. She comforts us by her generosity. And she comforts us by sending others to us. Listen to what God says to us again. As a mother comforts her child, so will I comfort you. Be not dismayed, whatever betide. God will take care of you. Beneath her wings of love abide. God will take care of you. God will take care of you through all the day, all the way. She will. Don't miss that now. Don't miss that. She will take care of you. Somebody in here knows. And mama took care of you. God will take care of you. I'm going to let you go early today, so you can take your mama out and get her White Castle. But when you go, remember that don't get caught up in this masculine foolishness. Don't try to limit God, because God is not a man. God is not a male. God is not a woman. God is not female. God is just God. And wherever I need God to be, whatever I